Hey guys, and welcome to a very special episode of Toribash Tips with me, Jack Morris from Man on Fire Films. Now, this episode is not a move, it's not a tip, it's not really any replay editing stuff, it is simply a recap for people who have literally just joined the channel, because I'm well aware that this recent Steam launch has brought in a lot of new Toribash players and a lot of people to this channel to watch the Toribash content. Couldn't say that then. And a lot of you may not be familiar with the things that we've developed over the past 2 years of me doing this show, the button combinations, the sort of running gags, I guess, but I probably won't touch many of those this episode. So I thought I should put out this quick little recap to just explain the stuff that we've kind of established and learned about the game over the course of the 2 years. I'm going to be doing this kind of freeform, kind of without planning, because I feel like I can cover more by doing that, and I'll also be doing the stuff that is to me relevant. If I plan it out, then I'll probably end up covering a lot of stuff that people really don't care about. But if I do miss something that you're really confused about, please let me know in the comments of this video, and I'll probably do a follow-up that'll explain the stuff that you really want me to explain. So first, let's talk about key commands, because I saw quite a few more comments than normal cropping up of how I do certain key commands. I'll try to go through this in the most basic way possible, sort of starting with the really essential stuff and then getting to the complicated stuff, but knowing me, I'll probably ramble quite a bit because I tend to do that. So, first things first, let's talk about the most basic button press there is in Toribash. C. C locks your character. That's C on your keyboard will toggle lock all joints, and pressing it again will toggle unlock all joints. Basically what that means is right now things are unlocked. You can see it's a lighter color and thinner joints. If I press space to use a turn, we'll get to that turn stuff in a second, my character falls over, whereas if I was playing again and I press C, my character would be rigid and stiff. Very, very simple. Very important to do in multiplayer too. You're going to want to be pressing C to make sure that you don't fall over in multiplayer. That is by far the most basic buttons. I figured I should start there. Secondly, moving your joints. Very, very simple way to do that. You can either click, as I'm sure most of you know, clicking will move the joint. You cycle through the different ways of clicking. Or you can mouse wheel, if you're lucky enough to have one, up or down, which will extend or contract, respectively, depending on what joint you're on. Sometimes it'll left rotate and right rotate if you're using on the chest. So yeah, the mouse wheel will toggle movement. Then you can use X, which is right next to C, to toggle hold and relax. So X will toggle hold and relax. Mouse wheel up and down will change extending and contracting, or sometimes left and right, depending on what particular joint you're mousing over. Very simple, another really basic thing, but also very good for multiplayer, so you can set up your move a lot quicker than clicking through every individual joint. So yeah, that's another thing. Another thing that kept on getting asked was how you. Oh god, that wasn't English. Another thing that kept getting asked was, how do you cycle different camera modes? That's very simple. That's simply your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 key on your keyboard. So 1 is default camera. I can't actually swap to that because I'm already in it. 2 is free camera, where you can fly the camera around and sort of get any angle you want. So if I press 1 here, you'd see me, I go back to the default camera. 3 is Toricam, where you see through the I wouldn't say so much see through the eyes of your Tori, because the camera is always pointed at Jeff's head. So it's kind of just seeing from the point of view of your Tori's head, but it's a similar gist. 4 then is Jeff Cam, which is a little bit buggy right now because you're seeing directly into my stupid fucking hat. And 5 is playing camera movements, which honestly, I don't really know what that does. I'm sure somebody will say in the comments and then I can correct myself. But yeah, people were mainly asking how you get into Jeff Cam. 4 is Jeff Cam, 3 is Tori Cam, 2 is free cam, and 1 is default. And 5 is a mystery that I don't quite understand. Okay, now let's get into some replay, sort of simple replay stuff. Let's load, I think I still have the replays from Replay Showcase. Let's load Gentleman Malevolent Benediction, just because that was the first one I saw, and it was also a pretty cool replay if I remember right. Okay, so basic replay key commands. R resets the replay from where you're standing and plays it from the start. So R will reset the replay at current speed. Very straightforward. P for pause, pauses the replay. Pressing it again will play the replay. Again, very, very straightforward. R to replay the replay. P on your keyboard. The letter P. Don't piss on your keyboard. That won't be a good thing. The letter P on your keyboard. Press it, and that'll toggle pause and play. Very, very straightforward. A little bit more complicated. If you hold Shift and press P, you'll go forward 1 frame. So you can sort of go into quasi-slow motion, but also adjust it by 1 or 2 frames, which is very handy when you want to edit replays. On that topic, pressing E at any point in the replay takes you back into the replay to edit it and tweak it from that point on. Very, very, very handy when you're trying to tweak the replay. So let's just quickly do something different here and then space it out. This is obviously a terrible move. when you're in the middle of making a replay or a move, you can press P once again to play the remainder of the frames. You can also press P to stop it. It's a lot quicker than pressing spacebar multiple times. Spacebar also uses a turn. I'm sure you guys can figure that one out. That feels like the first thing you do. But for anybody wondering, spacebar uses one turn. In default single-player Toribash, that is 10 frames. Your frames are displayed up the top here, as you can see, for 422, 412, 402. You get the idea. If I was to shift P down to 400 and then press spacebar, it would take me to 390. Spacebar in single-player default uses 10 frames. In multiplayer, it locks your turn in for that particular round. The amount of frames each turn can vary depending on the mod. We'll talk about that probably in a later episode as that's a little bit more advanced. But yes, E will edit the replay, and then if you want to watch a replay from where you are, you can hit R, which will immediately start playing the replay. As you can see now, it has my tweaks to the replay. If you'd like to save a replay, as it says at the bottom there, you can press F to save it. You can do this to any replay, so if you tweak one of yours and you want to save different versions of it, you can do that, so you can jump back in and edit them. Relatively straightforward stuff. If you want to now we talk about the game modes, I guess. Again, I'm trying to keep this very free form, so I'm talking about the stuff that I really think is relevant. Let's talk about some tweakings of the game, I guess. If you hold Control and press H, nope, I can never get that right. Control and press G, this will open the game rules. This would be where you would edit how many frames you start off with, how many frames are used each turn. As you can see, it defaults to 10, but this is where you tweak that. You can turn dismemberments off, fractures on, stuff like that. Also, where you can change the engage distance, which is arguably one of the more important things. So if I change it to 250, when I click OK, nope, hang on, sorry, I was in somebody's replay, I forgot about that. If I change it to 250, you'll see that suddenly I'm a little bit further away, which is great. That's how you sort of tweak the where you start off. You can also get to that option by pressing Escape, going to Setup, and then Game Rules. I couldn't find it for a second there. It'll take you to the same location. You can also tweak gravity. These three things are representative of gravity. So if I was to say turn this to 1, suddenly I'd be a lot more floaty as I leap into the air. You can already see by the ghost there. What's going on there. Speaking of ghosts, the B button on your keyboard, right next to V, right next to N, B toggles ghosts on and off. So it'll probably start with 1. Oh, apparently that is not in the game anymore. Okay, well, B simply turns ghosts on and off. Back in previous versions, it used to put Jess yours on, then yours and Jeff's, then nothing. Maybe that's a bug on mine, I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter. B toggles through the state of ghost, whether that is on or off, depending on if the version has been updated or not. That still applies. So yes, B is how you get the ghosts on. Highly recommend it for both multiplayer and single player. The ghosts are very good for telling where you are. Now, what was I? Oh, yeah, game rules. So if you'd like to change the shader, which I will demonstrate in a second, you can press Control plus H. This is what I did before to open your shaders. And these basically just make the game look pretty. They're really not essential to the game, but I do a lot of these in Toribash Replay Showcase, so I can really imagine people bringing up how to do these. It's nice, not essential. Let's go for Beautiful Day for the rest of this episode. It's nice, but not essential. Another thing that gets brought up quite a lot is how you do slow-mo. Now, I did devote an entire episode of Toribash tips on how to do this, but save you guys going trolling back through to find that episode. Let's just talk about it quickly here. The ignore me. The comma key and the full stop key are how you control the speed. You notice down in the right there, we have 0.30x. That's the speed if I go back up to normal speed. Now, you do have to let the replay go through once. You may notice that the slow-mo thing there went from gray to black. Once it's black, you can do slow-mo. You have to let the replay play all the way through once and reset before you can do slow-mo. Now, if I slow it down, you'll notice things getting very slow. And you can stop stuff. You can go back. So, yes, the comma and full stop key, also those little arrow things, which are probably easy to remember. The arrow pointing left goes back. The arrow pointing forward goes forward. It's very simple, but it's the comma and full stop key on your keyboard to toggle slow motion. Another thing that gets brought up is how I toggle between replays without going into the menu like so, going into setup and then replays. There's another way to do it. It's very simple. This was obviously told, a lot of this stuff was told to me by fans over the course of the 2-year Toribash tips span. Hopefully I can get through this stuff quick enough for you. Hold Control and press the bracket keys. So next to P on a standard, I guess, keyboard, you have your brackets. I'll type it in the chat log just so you guys can see down in the bottom left right now. These keys, those brackets. I guess they're square brackets. I'm not sure what the official title is. Not the Not the circle brackets. No, that's crazy. These brackets, yeah. If you think of them as, again, pointing left and right, if you hold Control and press those, you'll cycle right through your replays by pressing the right bracket and left back through your replays by pressing the left bracket. That's Control, Control plus those buttons to cycle between replays. R to reset a replay and E to edit it, just to refresh that little memory. And I think that is most of the key commands that I can think of there. One I almost forgotten is one of the very basic ones. Again, this is very freeform. If I've missed something you'd like me to tell you, please let me know in the comments. V grabs. V makes both your hands grab or ungrab, depending on what they are. You notice my hands are getting smaller. Let's see if I can make a grab on editing, whatever replay this was. I don't think I'm going there we go. Okay, grab. You can also click individual hands. This is probably one of the few times where clicking is kind of essential, because sometimes you don't want to ungrab or grab with both your hands. You just want to do one of them. In that situation, you can click them or press V. V will toggle, by the way, to both hands to the same thing. So say you have one hand grabbing, one hand not. Pressing V will either change them both to grabbing or both to open. It won't swap them individually, if that makes sense to you. They always swap to the same thing when pressing V. So if you want to individually grab with both hands, you have to click them. There's no other way to do that as far as I know. But yes, I think that is sort of the basic button combinations and the generic interface. If you'd like a more calmer, collected tutorial, albeit a little bit noobier because I made it years ago, simply search Simply Talking Videos, Toribash Tips. I think the show was still called Toribash Tips back then. And you'll find a 5 or 6 part guide I made 2 or 3 years ago that gets into the much more newbie stuff. If you really want me to go into more depth about the interface and what each joint does, I'd recommend going and check out those videos. Or if you guys really want me to devote a Toribash Tips episode to that, talking about the joints and what they do and how to make them do what they do, please let me know in the comments, and I will happily make a Toribash Tips episode about that. But hopefully this has cleared a few things up about the sort of stuff we've covered over the past 2 years. I'm not going to get into any of the running gags except for one or two. So a couple of people were wondering why we call why we call him Jeff, simply because people couldn't agree in the comments of our videos on the pronunciation. Some people were like, no, it's Ook. Some people were, no, it's Uke or whatever. So I just called him Jeff to alleviate the confusion. It's really not an exciting story. It's really not that interesting. I mean, there is a slightly more interesting story on why I picked Jeff as the name, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that at some future date, I suppose. But yeah, basically, I named him something else so that I could call him something without people getting annoyed at the pronunciation. And I guess the second big thing that new people to the channel may not know is, wrong leg, hang on, is who's this guy right here coming out of my feet? That is the legend that is Jonathan Webster. He worked for us for 2 years. He's one of my best friends, and he's no longer full-time at the company, and we just put his face on my leg because it's funny and it mashes up his face. But yeah, that's Jonathan Webster. If you want to know who he is, go watch some of our older videos, especially our Minecraft playthrough, the old one, not the new one, if you want to know who he is. But yeah, I figured that might confuse people. Most of this stuff you see on my Tori here, like the blue, the jack on my hand, the Man on Fire logo on my face, my hat, was sent to me by fans. That's how I acquired that stuff. I'm sure a couple of people were wondering, like, how did a noob like Jack get all that stuff? It was sent to me. I think that about covers the basic stuff of what I was trying to get across here. Again, if you'd really like me to cover anything specific that you don't quite understand, you're new to the channel, or maybe you're not and you still don't understand it, please comment it. This show was originally intended to be more of a tutorial than just moves every week, but obviously, as time went on, there was less and less tips of the week, as they used to be called. That's a callback. And it just became about the moves, but I'm sure now with the new influx of Toribash players, you guys will want me to maybe go back and cover some of the stuff. So please let me know in the comments what you'd like me to do there. Hopefully, however, this basic sort of introduction has been very, very helpful to you. I hope it has. If it has, make sure you subscribe. I have been Jack Morris from Man on Fire Films, and I shall see you soon. I think the 50th episode of this show is coming up. It might actually be the next episode. I don't know. I've lost count. Actually, I was going to wrap it up, but let's talk about that. So, I don't know what to do for the 50th episode. I kind of had an idea with Toribash Replay Showcase. I've got a good idea for Toribash Mod Spotlight. A couple of the other shows that we do, I've got the 50th episode planned. I really don't know what to do for Toribash episode 50, so I'm kind of opening the floor to your guys' suggestions. So you tell me what you'd like me to do for the 50th episode, and I will do my best to do it, because I'm pretty sure that's either next week, the week after, or the week after that. I'm unsure with Toribash Replay Challenge as well. let me know, because I really don't have any ideas. So yeah, hopefully, again, this has helped everyone. Hashtag best Friday ever. I've been Jack Morris from Man on 5 Films. Please check back next week for more stuff. Same Jack time, same Jack channel. Yes, I'm going to say that until it catches on. Bye, guys.